Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Welcome to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I'm so excited to be with you tonight. As you know, growers are the superstars of the cannabis industry, and there's nothing more valuable than to learn from the best. That's why I'm so stoked about tonight. You guys, I have two legends in the game, if you will, in the business of growing cannabis, in the love of growing cannabis, two Humboldt legends. First, we have Jason Gellman, the CEO and founder of Ridgeline Farms. And then we have Nat Pennington, CEO and founder of Humboldt Seed Co. Guys, welcome to Calling All Growers. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So guys, if you don't know who Jason and Nat are, let me just clue you in. Jason Gellman is a second generation cannabis farmer and owner of Ridgeline Farms in Southern Humboldt. And he's watched the industry evolve since he was a kid. Jason has had 2 first place wins for licensed sun grown at the Emerald Cup and is widely considered one of the top growers in the most can-abundant region in the world. Nat Pennington is the founder and CEO of the Humboldt Seed Company, and he's been breeding cannabis and working to restore rivers and salmon populations in Humboldt County for over 20 years. Prior to taking on his role at the Humboldt Seed Company, Nat worked in salmon genomics, which gave him the background to understand the need for unbiased cannabis genomics research. He founded Humboldt Seed Company in 2001 to provide strong cannabis genetics to his community that wouldn't require pesticides and fungicides. How did I do, guys? Did I miss anything?
I mean, there's a lot more deeper than that, but yeah, you did fine. Thank you for that great introduction.
Definitely. Well, I just want to dive right in, you guys. You know, having you here is incredible, but having you here to talk about your latest collab, Potty Mouth, is even more special. So, Jason, I'm going to start with you. What makes it so special? What makes this collaboration with Humboldt Seed Company so special?
Well, I mean, really just getting to meet new people through this industry. Me and Nat didn't know each other until, a few years ago. And I knew what he was doing. He kind of maybe knew what I was doing. And, he's creating all these amazing seeds for these farms. And, I did ask him, I said, I'd love to try some of them out. Maybe I think actually he came to me saying, hey, you win a lot of awards and, we'd love for you to grow some of our strains as well. And so just, we kind of met at that and, and from there we've gotten a little closer and, and we're in the same little community and, but I was lucky enough, he dropped me off some of his beautiful strains to try. And, with that came out multiple. I mean, really, out of the 3, they're all really amazing. One just didn't have a name yet and didn't really have a spot in the market. And, I grew it out and did what I do. And now he's doing what he does with it. And so together, we pretty good combination.
Yeah, totally. Nat, what does it mean to you to be working with a farm like Ridgeline?
Well, I mean, Jason nailed it. Like pretty much he's such an amazing grower that, everybody wants Jason to run their gear. And so, we were, I mean, we had met, but yeah, of course, I was like, hey, whatever you want, let's see what you can do with it. And it, as a breeder, we're kind of, we're sort of like the palette, and Jason gets to really finish the painting, and his farm is the canvas. And he's made so many masterpieces that if we can just give him, some really solid stuff to work with, I know that he's gonna make something really beautiful out of it. And I mean, I think I remember you saying to me that there were some of the first people that came up and looked at your flower, and of course you have everybody, like all the from compound to seed junkie, everybody is like, here, try this and try that. But I was really stoked when you told me that the first people that came and looked at the flower were like, what is that? We definitely want that one. And that made me feel good, out of with all of those other folks that are also coming up to your place. And
Yeah, well, you're look at your hat. It says Humboldt, right? And that's I like to represent Humboldt. I kind of got put in this position a little more than I actually like, but Humboldt, I've lived here my whole life. I raised my family here, and it means everything to me. So Humboldt Seed Company, well, there you go. It's another organization within this county that I'm just hoping can succeed, because so many are dropping off the map right now, which is tragic. And so when we can have collabs like this and they work together and we can bounce stuff off each other, and it helps both of us. I could advertise his stuff, he could advertise me or Ridgeline Farms or whatnot, and that's really what it's about right now. We live in a small community, and we really need each other. We always work together in this community, and now we need each other in different collaboration. It was a no-brainer for me, really.
Right. I mean, it's really great to see, I think, from the outside looking in too, when you hear about such, contention, and, maybe not everybody, it's hard to share the spotlight. I think sometimes in this industry, it can be, growers or breeders, but it's really, really cool to see this collaboration and, this love and this like regional pride. It can only result in a superior product that nobody's ever experienced before. Because it's nature and nurture. And I think that's what we're definitely seeing with, every collaboration between a breeder and, a cultivator. So, Nat, I want to ask you, breeding, I think is one of those things that it sounds really cool, really sexy. A lot of people, I think a lot of growers want to try their hand at it. But it comes down to, I think, science, and, really rigorous science. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how, your prior work in, salmon genomics, has brought you insights into, cannabis breeding.
sure. Well, the Humboldt has this incredible ecosystem, and while of course we have like the redwood trees that are world famous, and it's such an incredibly beautiful place that whether you think of Humboldt as natural beauty, or whether you think of it as cannabis, really they both they have to go together for it to be truly Humboldt. And so working with salmon, there were certain runs of salmon, in particular the spring run of Chinook salmon in Humboldt, that had felt had really been impacted by like things like dams and mining and big logging and stuff like that. And so in cannabis, I think we sort of will see that coming as well, with just having one genetic that everybody is growing, for example, or having one giant corporate brand that is sort of like the Budweiser, Coors Light, or whatever. And I think that as humans, we just figured out how to make things like really cheaply and efficiently. And now we're kind of in this age of realizing that, there's more to it than just getting the cheapest, most efficient thing. And so, there was a lot of science that went into figuring out how to save those specific special runs of salmon and the genomics and all that. When it comes to cannabis, it's like, there's, so many different amazing types of cannabis have come through Humboldt County from all these corners of the world, that this is sort of a special place for genetics, and a place where, we can do some preservation of genetics for cannabis, but we can also just bring them to light and highlight the diversity that makes this plant so special.
Awesome. And the consumer is the one who wins because we get the superior product, and we just experience it's just a different experience, when you're enjoying, clean, well cultivated, organic, or, very few, as naturally as possible, cannabis that's, naturally lit from the sun. There's just something different and just mind blowing about that, I think, when you're first able to experience it. This coming from somebody who didn't grow up in California, or have access to cannabis and, smoke some swag. I was grateful for it. Okay. You take what you can get, but it's just a different ball game. So Jason, what do you think about the contrast sometimes that people make between Humboldt County and like Napa Valley and Sonoma County, and the whole, wine tourism, weed tourism is something that's happening now. I don't know. What do you make of that?
It's everybody around the world knows Napa for fine wine, and everybody knows for fine weed. It's pretty easy, to look at it that way. I keep hoping that our small town could get more of that going, have more smoke shops, and, even having wine and, different type of dining like that. But, it's, I don't know, right now it's not really working out as easy as that. Our town's kind of dissipating at the moment. It's getting smaller and smaller, and people are kind of moving. So I don't want to get too down the dumps on this, but in general, it has always been the talk, is like, we could possibly have something like that, but with that takes, money needs to come into our town, and, we need to have good restaurants and, spas and resorts, if you want to really it to be more like Napa. But I definitely feel like we definitely have, we have tons of different strains. We have years and years, generations of amazing farmers, just like there's generations of amazing, vineyard, grape growers or whatever. So it's definitely similar. It's and I think it's, as time goes, it could, I really hope it does go to the route where people do want to come here to taste all the amazing strains of cannabis, see the redwoods, go to the oceans and the rivers, and it's just an amazing place in general, and it needs, the spotlight. We need the positive spotlight, and soon, talking to people like you, and getting the word out. This is one of the reasons I know me and Nat do these, podcasts we get asked to, because we know anytime we could talk and spread the word of, Humboldt, really craft farmers, all of Emerald Triangle needs this right now, because Mendocino, Trinity, they all have their beautiful spots, and there's a lot of amazing farmers at all of them. So,
absolutely,
definitely have similarity, the Napa and Humboldt, with the wine and the weed, for sure.
It's beautiful to me to think about, that future, that kind of future where you're traveling for a specific profile.
I know, imagine stopping in Napa, drinking wine, then you come a little farther north, and then you could stop and taste amazing weed. It's a pretty good little tour. You better get a room at all these places though, because I get a little buzzed up in Napa and a little high in Humboldt.
I love it. Oh my God, I love that. It will happen. It will happen. Nat, I'm curious. I'm curious. You've been in this space for over 20 years. Okay. Breeding. I'm sure you've seen, you've seen it all, and you've seen many trends. What trends are you seeing right now in breeding? And which trends has Humboldt Seed Co. Driven, essentially, been responsible for?
Sure. So I think that that's one of the things that can be a little, for farmers like Jason and I that have kind of been, we've seen a lot of different types of cannabis, and we have, probably a real appreciation for all the different terpene profiles. And of course, there's some that, are my favorite and some are Jason and so on and so forth, but nothing, I don't want to say nothing surprises me, because cannabis is amazing and it actually does surprise me all the time. But, right now there's like, people are saying purple fuel flavored strains are popular again. I mean, I remember 4 or 5 years ago and nobody wanted anything that was purple at all. And it was this, kind of ridiculous rumor that, based in no, not any fact at all, but that like purple cannabis came from a deficiency and it was like not as good. And now at least that's not, what's people think now. And I mean, I love purple cannabis, but I'll tell you this, like it doesn't matter. Cannabis is so diverse, and there's so much more for us to explore. And particularly if you're like a fairly new to exploring the whole genome, you definitely don't want to just limit yourself to what you heard was the, like purple gas or what you use your own senses to guide you. And I think, when we have more, when we're able to be more interactive with the public and maybe have like farmers market events where we can, open a bag of cannabis or a jar of cannabis and let people, I think that's going to make a big difference. And because you can't do that right now. So everybody has craft cannabis on their label, whether they're the biggest farm in California or a smaller real craft farm in Humboldt County. You're going to use that branding. And so it does take a while for people to actually figure out, what is the Coors Light and what's the, real micro brew of the cannabis space. But people will, and it's coming. And, I think we actually have had a lot of purple cannabis for a long time. I know that our blueberry muffin was a real fruit forward profile that people.
I smelled some of it this weekend at an Oklahoma cannabis show. The grower was so proud, and he should be proud.
That continues to kind of blow people's mind that cannabis can smell, that actually like a blueberry muffin, for example.
It was insane. Like I seriously started salivating because I blueberry muffins. Who doesn't love them? Like I smelled it and I didn't think about cannabis. I started thinking about food. So it's like the only strain I've ever smelled that where you get the munchies before you smoke it. Like,
I love that.
It's incredible. They were so proud of it too, and that's another thing. I think when you have, the track record that you do and the reputation that both of you do, when you are able to, I think, help out other growers, whether you're selling them seeds or whether, Jason, you're mentoring them or even just inspiring them by what you do, that's another just a beautiful extension of the plant and how it just enhances all of our lives, without even consuming it like that. But that was cool. Like they were proud that they did your genetics, like they did them right,
Yeah.
Right. So talk to me about potty mouth. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me all of it. Nat,
I
talk to
can
me
talk
about
about
the genes, the genotype.
right. So the crazy thing is people are always like, what's the cross? And the way that we breed, it's almost never going to be a plant that's just coming from A times B strain. We always are like making crosses, and then we look through, sometimes even, I mean, hundreds for sure, but sometimes even thousands. And we did a really big pheno hunt that I know a lot of people have maybe watched the videos on our website, but
I did.
back in 2018, we kind of made a point of looking at 10,000 plants in 1 year, and we'll take cuttings off of all of them, and that way if there's one that stands out, then we have it. And so we've kind of made a point of doing that every year. The potty mouth was, something that had siblings and crosses beyond it, but it was kind of like our mountaintop mint and the Humboldt pound cake. And even sometimes it's like, as those genetics are evolving, we'll have one that, is divergent and will kind of take it another direction. So oftentimes it's even like numbers. Like when I gave it to Jason, it just said M30 on it. And I was like, all right, buddy, we're going to figure out what the heck we want to call this by the time it's done. If it's
We had lots of funny names too that came through.
Funny names, and based on what? Based on traits of,
I mean,
of
yeah,
plant, or
there's
just
traits,
memories
coming out. Yeah, you're just coming up with names, and I mean, a lot of this, it's sad to say, a lot of the cannabis market's gone. It's a fad. There's a lot of fad in there, right? It's what's
Right.
cool, and
Right.
so names. I mean, there's so many names bounced around, and I hate to say it. There's a lot of strains probably of the same strain with a different name, right?
I caught a strain. Yes. Sorry.
I mean,
caught a
it's just, it's just where it is right now. It's just, that's how the market is. So you do need to come up with something catchy, and, a lot of the strain names are taken really. And so, yeah, we definitely bounced a lot of different names around. And I think the best thing was we each talked about was, let's just keep watching and see what happens. And,
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love it. It's
the
cute
reference
name.
was all like, when it flowers, it really does have a lot of the seed bracts, which, that's kind of the
well, like, hey, as I was growing it, I said to you constantly, like, this stuff has so many pods. It's so potty. I kept saying that. And the coolest thing about it was, he wasn't at the farm, and we talked about names and names and names. And then the day he was actually at the farm, we were both sitting there looking at it, saying pods, pods, pods. And it's just like so potty, and it's just potty mouth. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and went, "Oh my God, that's it." It was kind of. I mean, it's not like I was trying to name my kid or nothing, but it still
Right.
it felt right.
Felt right.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it did. It was something new. It's something that you can remember, and I mean, it was just a beautiful strain to grow. We when you're growing in these microclimates, we're always trying to find what strains could handle our climates. And like, let's say today, I was cutting all kinds of mold out. I hate to say it, but it happens. And there's certain strains that don't have any mold, when other strains that are just completely moldy. And so that strain was just bulletproof. I mean, it's a super strong strain, and it looked beautiful. And then, I mean, man, we got the test results, and it just blew my mind. I mean, we honestly should have won some big awards with that one. But what did that, I mean, I think it was over 40-something% cannabinoids, total cannabinoids.
Wow.
And what was the THC on that again?
It was 36, I think.
Wow.
Maybe even 38. I think it might have been 38. I mean, maybe it was somewhere in there. It was phenomenal. I mean, it's one of those strains where people can make, hash, and it's probably not going to come out as strong as that, It was, it's really fun. I mean, when you grow weed your whole life, like I have, we used to we'd grow OG for 10 years. We'd grow sour diesel for 5 years. It'd be one strain, what the buyers wanted, not that you grew for years. And it was cool. You knew exactly what the plant would do. You knew exactly how to grow it. it was easy, really, which is hard now growing all these different strains, but it's so exciting to just grow a plant. Now you have no idea what it's going to be and see it turn into this amazing, beautiful flower. It's just, I mean, it kind of makes what we're doing is like exciting and new, because like I said, it does get kind of old when you've done one job. I've been a farmer my whole life.
Yeah.
Growing one strain their whole life, it's boring. So yeah, like seeing all these new strains, you know, and getting to play with them. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. It's definitely not really the best thing for, you know, making money, because I have so many different strains and some suck, you know, some don't work out. And then there's some like potty mouth that crush it. So
yeah, trial and error.
Trial and error. There's a lot of it, for sure. Especially, you know, the market we're in. You know, I've been breeding my whole life. I don't do it like Nat, but you know, me and my dad still doing. You know, it's like when we have one strain, like I got this Lance. It took me 4 years. You know, we bred 4 different things. But we, you know, each year we're just doing basically. I get 6. I usually save about 6 to 8 phenos out of, you know, that's phenos is the seeds that come out of one bud. I'll save 6 or 8 of those. I will, you know, take up a section of my grow, which obviously is going to cost me money in the long run. And then I pick my favorite one out of all of those. So I did that for 4 years to come up with one strain, you know, which is now I call Lance, Lantz. And so the time that it takes to breed a strain and make a strain that's actually amazing strain is it's a lot of energy. There's a lot of wasted space, a lot of trial and error, you know. So yeah, for him to come up with a strain, all the strains he does, it's really impressive, you know. And it's a lot. You have a lot on your back when you give somebody thousands of seeds to put their whole future on, and you know, you don't want them to grow a bunch of, you know, poof, crap, whatever, you know, garbage. So that's a lot on a breeder's back, you know. There's a lot of pressure there.
Yeah, man.
You know, one thing that Humboldt, and I know Jason can relate to this, you know, I remember when I first started growing here, not like sometimes you didn't even have a strain that you were growing. It was just you were growing the seeds that, you know, the guy gave you from up Salmon Creek or whatever it was. And you know, it didn't always have it didn't always have a strain name. It was just good herb. And of course, yeah. And we would collect those seeds, and everybody, like I'm sure Jason's family, like we all kind of just would essentially rely on ourselves and our community to make sure that we had some really good genetics going into the next season. And you know, but then as I know all of us that have been here in Humboldt, like we all know that it's really growing from seed is special. Like growing from clone has its advantages, obviously, but we all kind of deep down, I think, love growing from seed. But then as the increments of, you know, pounds of flour kind of started going up, and the buyers wanted, you know, 20 that looked all the same, and then they, you know, a few years later it was like, wow, there's 100 that has to look the same. And now we have distros, and where we're at now, it's even sometimes more. And so, you know, we kind of had to try to early on make seeds that would come out consistent enough that they could go into the same batch. And that's like something that's not, you know, I don't think anybody in cannabis seed breeding could say that they have, you know, seeds that are 100% uniform, but that's been like one of our goals. And I think that's why we're Humboldt Seed Company, not just like Humboldt Genetics Company, because we're not always just looking for a clone. But when we find a clone and, you know, can work with someone like Jason who can just make it look as beautiful as it possibly can look, then, you know, get to our job, which is making seeds that, you know, then I think a piece of Humboldt can actually, you know, go somewhere else in the country and give people an idea of like, you know, Humboldt will always and has always grown absolute fire cannabis. And I mean, there's always going to be amazing flower coming out of Humboldt, and there's always going to be something special about it. And I think that right now, like, we have this, big responsibility of trying our very best to like represent that, because not a lot of, like, until we legalize federally, unfortunately, like, you can't try some Jason's unbelievable lance flower in Massachusetts. And, so
Yeah.
we're trying our best, but yeah, getting feedback from people that are as skilled as Jason, and it's a huge part of it. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Nat. Like I said, being the breeder part is really hard as well, and it is. I've heard from like Highline saying, it's like the same thing with them. They're giving out clones, but if somebody can't grow it well, they get the backlash. And seeds, like I said, seeds. I have piles of old seeds, and they're all different. It could be one bud. It could be all. I never have the same seed, so that's very impressive. And like my dad, I remember he would breed strains that would just be done early to beat the rain, or to beat the cops, whatever. And so it's like get it done early. And so they were learning how to do stuff like that, manipulate it way before we knew about growing depth, and actually manipulating the time of growing the plant. So yeah, it's growing it is a pleasure. Breeding it is a lot of work.
Yeah. It's a beautiful dance, I think. And again, it's a consumer who wins every single freaking time. The patient wins. The patient. I shouldn't say consumer. I mean, because what you're saying is, you're making medicine more consistent, and you're helping farmers to have a more predictable crop, so they can sustain their families. It's dope, man. What you do is really so important. What you both do is so important. But the genetic side is just, it's really like, whoa, kind of think of like mad scientists. But guys, we're gonna pause the conversation right now because we have to get in a message from our sponsors. But when we come back, don't worry, Jason Gellman of Ridgeline Farms and Nat Pennington of Humboldt Seed Company will be here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
It's the whole package. Not only is it the exclusion, we talked earlier about how experienced is your rep you're talking with. Do they do it full time? Do they do it 5% of the time? Do they have a dedicated back office? How long they've been doing it? There's a lot of people trying to cash in the insurance. The forefathers, like my company, we've been doing it for 3 years, and now they're trying to cash in. It's okay. We like competition, but we know that we're going to come out on top most of the time.
We've got breaking news for all farmers and growers out there. How would you like to defer the taxes you pay on your grow? Now you can legally, thanks to a discovery by agricultural tax attorney Michael Berwick of the law firm Greenspoon Martyr.
I have been working with tax deferral for 20 years, and my team at Greenspoon Martyr in the tax area got together with our team in the cannabis area. And putting our heads together collectively, we have determined that this major tax deferral clause includes the growing of cannabis.
Now, don't think that this is a new tax code clause, because it's been around for over a century.
Absolutely. This provision's been around for over 100 years. It applies. It was designed for agriculture. It was put in force at a time when we had a much more agrarian economy, big lobby for agriculture and farming, and that definition of agriculture has grown and expanded over the years. And again, it now includes cannabis.
How does it work?
Essentially, it will allow the taxpayer, if done correctly through us, it will allow the taxpayer to defer all state and federal ordinary income taxes for 30 years.
To find out more and see if you qualify as a grower, contact Michael Berwick at 305-789-2761 or call toll-free 888-491-4600. 1120 and ask for Michael Berwick's office, or just email him at michael.berwick, that's BURWICK, at gmlaw.com.
Are here in Las Vegas at Planet 13. This is such a legendary dispensary, and so let's go check it out. This is too good for stoners. Like, this is all we need, really. Here at Planet 13, you can have fresh baked gummies. So just deal with that. My aim is to get more people buying weeds. I would love some specialized shopping. Yes. What's happening? Everybody gets a free pre-roll. All right, so what do you suggest?
Honestly, I would do baker's cake.
Okay.
Yeah, just the mercy level's so high. So I always tell people, like, if a name jumps out at you or like the way it looks jumps out at you, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna like it.
Okay. Yes. It's like a playground for cannabis lovers. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I am here tonight with Humboldt legends, Jason Gellman of Ridgeline Farms and Nat Pennington of the Humboldt Seed Company. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about regulation and what farmers and brands in Humboldt are dealing with right now. Not just Humboldt, but California in general.
I mean, I sometimes I kind of like to compare it to a pendulum where, the regulations, I don't want to say they were loose. They were actually, still probably tighter than they should have been. I mean, this is just a plant.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly harmless, but
yeah.
So Humboldt went from having, being sort of a bastion of cannabis being socially acceptable and legally somewhat more acceptable than a lot of other places.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, like, I think California in general was that, looser place with the medical and everything, but definitely we've seen the pendulum swing the other direction. And now, to be honest, I feel like we have some of the most strict, regulations, track and trace. It's pretty tight here. And, I know Jason's living it right now, right? You just gotta.
Another inspection, we have these tiny farms, there's giant farms out there, like really big, 100 times the size of my farm, and
Mm-hmm.
multiple inspections every year. I'm not by a endangered watershed, so I have it. And I'm not getting these crazy surprise gnarly inspections that a lot of farms are getting.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we have so many things that we have to go through, from water boards, it's just, they always are throwing new things. I have to replace culverts on the main road. That's nothing to do with me. They're really trying to I feel like they're really trying to push the cannabis out of the hills and, put it into the flat lands and, and just have big massive farms, or where they can just check one farm and that's it. And we have more regulations in these small hills than I've seen of anything else, honestly. And you know, it's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal.
Yeah, God. So what do you think needs to happen to change that? I'm sorry, please, Nat, go ahead.
No, that's a great question. But the bummer is that that's where the great cannabis has always grown in Humboldt. And I feel like you need this, like, you know, the dichotomy of cold nights and hot days that the mountains give the cannabis. And there's this, you know, essentially there's this recipe that has made Humboldt, you know, world famous for producing cannabis. And, you know, a farm like Jason's is the epitome of that, because it's, you know, got all of those ingredients. Now, if he were to be forced to move down onto the flatland, he'd have a whole another suite of issues to deal with, and, you know, may not be able to work the magic the way he is. And there was a time certainly where, you know, the green rush, let's just call it, the people flooding into California and thinking like this is a way to get rich quick. And of course that those folks were spoiling it for everybody. And the environment definitely needed to have checks and balance. And I've been a fish biologist and definitely a conservationist my whole life. But, you know, the pendulum really did swing. And now, you know, ironically, like the whole Central Valley of California is this, you know, producing most of the fruits and vegetables for our nation. And we're drawing so much water from these rivers up here where we're, you know, doing our small cannabis farm that, you know, it's not just, I did the math. It's not actually just a drop in the bucket compared to what is getting sent down south through, you know, really elaborate dams and diversion pipes, but it's like a drop in a water tanker, like a 2,000 gallon water tanker. And that's how little water we're using comparatively to like the, you know, massive, you know, agriculture infrastructure in the Central Valley. And so it's just, it's silly that there's all of this heavy duty restriction, and I think it's going to change again and go back, but we're just on that pendulum.
I mean, they have massive grows in basically the desert where there's no water, right? They're sucking it from underground rivers that I heard are pretty much, you know, draining, and the actual ground is, you know, it's sinking due to that. And, you know, our farms are, you know, I've been really proud to make the name I have of, you know, Ridgeline with such a small farm. You know, and if everybody has had these little farms, the quality would go up. Communities would stay, you know, the economy would stay alive in these communities, and everyone could keep growing. There'd be plenty of herb, and you know, it's not a surprise. I mean, none of this is a surprise. You know, when people see money, when the big companies see money, they want it, you know, and it's kind of what's going on right now. It's money grab, and sad to say, our little town is, you know, it's losing a lot of amazing farms, and amazing growers are going to be out of jobs and looking for jobs, and it's like our town is dead. I mean, I just drove up to, you know, up into Harris, about 10 miles east, where I grew up, where my dad lives, where my uncle has a store, and this is harvest time in Humboldt. The roads are usually just packed with people. There's trimmers, people looking for jobs everywhere. Stores are packed, and it is. I mean, I saw maybe one or two cars all day when I was up there. I mean, it's just, on the other side of that, I love it, how quiet it is, and that our land is not being destroyed like it was in that green rush period. So there's a balance there. But yeah, it's to me, it blows my mind how much, you know, restrictions, how much stuff they are hammering us with in a small little area where we all have these little micro farms and all over these hills, and then there's these massive farms that are sucking so much water, and you know, it's just they're getting away with it. It's just you know, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but we all know what's going on. It's pretty awful.
Right, right, right. But it's greed, and it's the person writing the checks gets to make the rules. And the
Mhm.
government wants to take a chunk of the biggest chunk, and
Of
so they
course,
support the big business. It is pretty. The
it's
writing's on the
obvious.
wall. It is. It's obvious. But one thing that they can't, I think, replicate with big cannabis is, I mean, just the craft touch. I mean, it's science. It stands to reason that if you can give more attention,
It's science, but it's also knowledge. I mean, we've been doing this. I
that's
learned
it.
from my dad. I mean, we've been
Yes.
growing our whole life.
Yeah.
It's not. None of this is like I've said this on to many people, but it's not like I'm sitting there trying to read a book and learn how to grow weed. Like we have been taught and taught and taught and taught. So it's like
Yeah.
this is what I know. This is honestly, this is all I know. Like you
Yeah.
can't take me and say which a lot of my friends are going through right now. Let's get a job somewhere else. We don't. This is what we do. This is who we are. So
Yeah.
it's in our blood. This is in our. This is we take a lot of pride in growing amazing cannabis. We've all kind of learned our microclimate.
Hmm.
Like not saying, or if I took this farm and moved it to flatland, my herb's totally different. I have friends
Right.
that have herb, they grow down, in this farmland, and some of my strains, they give to them and they do a whole different thing, completely different, some for better and
Wow.
some for worse.
Yeah.
But, the climate here where it gets hot and then like right now it's cold, that makes the weed do amazing things. The trichome come out, THC goes up. It's just that hot and cold, and
Oh.
the diversity, the climate. Humboldt County has some amazing. It's just special, and it's not
Yeah.
all the climate. It's a combination of the climate and the farmers,
Right. Right.
because we've all been doing it our whole life around here. The majority of us.
Right. Right. Now, Nat, I know that you're from the East Coast. Is that right? Originally?
Yeah, I was born in New York, and then went to high school in Philadelphia, and then moved back to New York. But I came to Humboldt when I was 18 years old, and I literally, aside from vacation and visiting family, it's like I
Just never
have
left.
no reason to leave. Like it's such an amazing, beautiful place, and it just I fell in love. And I
Mm.
know Jason, and it's still there's so many wonderful things about it, but there was some moments back in the early 2000s where things were just kind of coalescing. Like we had this reggae event, Reggae on the River, that was just this like such a wonderful time to get together as a community and share in like the ganja harvest, and then have like reggae artists who obviously appreciate, many of them love
Hmm.
cannabis, and have them just like be in heaven and share our craft with them. And it,
Yeah.
not to mention the fact that that we've had such a community here, and I got to give it up to Mendocino and Trinity, and like just this area of California has had so many special it's been an amazing half a century of innovation here, and
Hmm.
seedless cannabis, like whatever, light depth. I mean, there's so many things that came from here.
Yeah, it's a really historical place, even now that when you kind of look back. I mean, it's you've seen it, you've seen so many changes, Jason, I think over to, I mean, you're the second generation. Can you just talk a little bit about the changes that you've seen and maybe what you hope to see for the culture, specifically, Humboldt cannabis and then maybe American cannabis?
Well, I mean, the changes of, like you said, have been, it's crazy from us hiding and, growing, trying to get away, growing 10 pounds under the trees, for obviously the price was worth a lot more back then because it was
Yeah.
harder to get, but, when it kind of went legal, a lot of us around here, we were very skeptical, we
Mhm.
knew that we knew what was going on. We knew the big the big man was going to want their piece basically. And,
Mhm.
you know, most of us, probably nobody in Humboldt voted for Prop 64, you know, but it passed. And when it did, I kind of dove right in because, you know, I have 2 kids. You know, I was always, you know, I had family members went to jail and I was lucky enough not to. So, you know, but always worried about getting raided, and we've had a really good life, you know, and I just didn't want to put my kids, you know, and so I did, you know, I took that big step and basically, you know, right away started Ridgeline, and kind of got lucky enough to win a few big awards and kind of boosted me right into the spotlight. I always kind of felt like there's more in this for me. When the time started changing, I was like, kind of like, what's going on? Is this, you know, am I going to lose all this? And I kind of manifested a lot of this. I really believe that there's more in this for me. I didn't know it was going to be to this point, but you know, I mean, really, you asked this question. I'm kind of going off the subject here, but as it develops, I just really, I don't know. I feel what's going to happen is that all these big companies are going to try to grow mass amounts of weed, right, to make a lot of money, and they're going to do it in a way that's just, you know, it's going to be using bad product to grow with, spraying with crap, and it's just not going to be the same type of weed. And I think at first people are going to love buying, you know, whatever the cheap weed. Well, now some of the best weed you could ever smoke is cheap too, right? We're selling our product for you know, we aren't really making much money, but at the same time, you know, I think a lot of these big companies are going to crash, and consumers are going to start learning, you know, hey, why spend the same amount of money when I could be getting this amazing organic, you know, product that's actually, you know, it's grown with love, and it's grown, you know, to the highest quality, and you're supporting community, you know, you're supporting, you know, schools, and, you know, and all the people around this area that it was always kind of, you know, there's the people that didn't like the dope growers, right? They're all against us. But at the end of the day, it all went into the same economy. And now, so all these people are losing jobs, even people that never even grew weed, but it's still, you know, it's that economy. So I really hope in this change that the consumers eventually learn, you know, what the best weed is, where it comes from, who they're supporting. And, you know, I do feel that'll happen. I do feel everybody says, you know, when it becomes, you know, federally legal, will it happen eventually? You know, there's so many things that you're gonna have to go through. I could definitely see it working with states that already are legal, and that'd be easy. If that happens, oh man, people don't want my herb all over this country. You know, I mean, I get asked really all over the world, but I think that would really help us out.
Send some to Texas.
That's the key to, we have too much weed in California, bottom line. And, you know, but at the end of the day, there's not a lot of good weed. You know, there's a lot of weed, but there's not a lot of good weed. And so if we have people like Nat, he's making these strains, he's coming up with the best ones, and then you're having a bunch of good growers grow it, you know, we should all be able to sell that herb. And, you know, I mean, we're proud of what we do. You know, I go through my little farm, I look at every plant, I know every plant, I know if there's one that's sick in a farm. Like those massive farms, a lot of those people that own them, I bet they never even look at their weeds. Maybe from a helicopter, you know,
they're like guilty parents, you know, just like kind of waving
running
through the window of the daycare, like, I'll see you
later. They don't care. They're looking at numbers. They're looking at numbers. We're looking at weed, you know, and at the end of the day, we aren't trying to get rich. We're trying to, you know, we're trying to have a job. We're trying to, you know, be able to put food and clothes on our kids' backs and support, you know, keep this economy going. And really, I just want to give people the best herb there is, the best experience, because the plant has done everything for me and my family. I owe it everything, and it's amazing. It's a special thing, and honestly, I feel bad for it right now. I do. It sounds weird, but I feel bad for the plant. It's like it's not its fault. It's such a special plant, and it's just getting completely, you know, I hate to use the word, but hoard out. I mean,
it is getting hoard out. It's paying everyone's bills.
It's not really fair.
It's doing everything for everyone.
You know, and so much. I do think, you know, like what you're doing is amazing. You know, we have to educate. Eventually
Yes.
people understand what they're smoking, what they're putting in their body, and they're going to be like, well, I want this nice green smoothie. I want to go for a mile run in the morning, but I'm going to smoke some chemical crap, right? So what
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense? Why not buy this top shelf herb for probably a cheaper price than you're going to buy something with some fancy packaging?
Right.
That's yeah, it might be purple, might be shiny, but what's it grown with, and what are you putting in your body? So
That's it.
I don't know, that your question just went all over the map there, but
Good. Thank you for speaking your truth. That is the answer, is your truth, no matter what the question was. And I really
pretty much all you're going to
appreciate
get
that.
out of me is the truth.
And I
at this
know
point.
that. Oh my God, I know that. I do have to say, the question that I was going to ask was, sometimes when we have people on the show, they're breeders, and they only use the word cultivar when they talk about strain. They don't like the word strain. And I remember, Jason, being at the Emerald Cup, and I interviewed you, and I said something, I can't remember what it was, or someone said something, because there were a bunch of people wanting to talk to you after you'd won. And you were like, this is weed. We grew up on this. This is weed, and we call it weed, and we're not ashamed of it. And I was like, oh my God, yes. Fuck yeah.
But the funniest thing is, in all these talks and all these writings, all that, I'm always saying, what is it? Marijuana is kind of a big word for people.
Yeah,
Cannabis
mouthful.
honestly annoys me. That word, I don't know what it is.
That's what it is. I can tell. Yeah.
I mean, pot is what it is. I like herb personally. Herb for me is kind of that in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's herb or weed. I mean, yeah, it's
Herb or weed.
That's a funny way. I'm always trying to actually say, what should I call it in this story, or what should I call it when I'm talking to this person? Because some people can't handle weed or marijuana. They want cannabis. And
it's the audience.
To me, that's just a little official. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to know that your audience, and even those official people, they need to be educated too. It's if we can put it in a message that they can understand and think, oh, okay, that's nice. I'll keep listening. That's really when we're serving the plant best, right? Is when we are choosing our words with different audiences. But I respect the fuck out of that, man. Okay, Nat, I want to know, what's your preference? I mean, I think it's strain because I've heard you in interviews, but cultivar strain, do you care?
Cultivar.
You just said it. It's all about the audience of if I'm writing up some kind of technical memo, or if I want to get something published, I'm going to call it a varietal or a cultivar because, I'm speaking to an audience of, other plant breeders or horticulture, whatever that's the language but I always refer to it as strain because, part of me is just I'm going to honor the culture that all of these amazing genetics really came from. And I mean, they all came from corners of the earth and this amazing planet that we live on, but they also came through the hands of, people like Jason's pops and people that, risked bringing, and if they kind of mistakenly thought that strain was absolutely the right term for a specific kind of a plant, then that's awesome, and I'm going to call it that too because it's different. It really is different than a cultivar. It's different than a varietal if you look at the technical term for those. So in a way, it's we've created a culture around it. I mean, no other plant in the world gets bred as a hobby so often. I mean, it's literally it's bringing people back to nature all the time. And to me, that's a really special thing. And if people want to go out and try to grow it themselves, I know both Jason and I support that 100%. We're get out there and try it and learn. And you're probably still going to want to, come back and try some of the, world's best cannabis grower flower like Jason has, but
yep.
Grow weed's not, it's not, I mean, it's not.
Of course.
Easy. I mean, it's Johnny made that seed puck, right? It's ingenious. You put it in the water, it grows, but then you got to deal with how many people, why did it mold? Why did it die? Why did it do this? Why did that? It's just, there's so many things you got to deal with. And that's one thing I feel it's going to be really hard for them to mass produce in a real high quality way, just with how many different, diseases and bugs and things, and that's a lot of these strains that I know Nat tries to, or that he's making. When you do find a strain that could, doesn't get powder mold or doesn't mold easy, could handle rain, could handle cold, could grow, could swell in cold. There's so many different things for the different, areas. And, it's just another thing that blows my mind really, because I know how hard it is to create strains. I mean, it's something that it just takes a lot of work, and, I appreciate what he's doing.
Yeah, amen. Well, I appreciate what both of y'all are doing. And I hate to say it, but we unfortunately run out of time for tonight. You guys, I could go on and on just learning from you. And I know that our audience can as well. So we'd love to have you back just to continue the conversation and check in to see how you're doing and what you're up to. And most importantly, how we can support the work that you guys are doing at Ridgeline Farms and Humboldt Seed Co. Whether you're in California or you're a grower, or you're just thinking about growing, or you just, you're into the culture, whatever, there's ways to support, I think. So thank you guys for coming on Calling All Growers. How can people find you, Jason?
You can find me on Ridgeline_farms on Instagram. You can email me at jason@ridgelinefarms.com. And that's basically where you'll find me.
Awesome.
Yeah, same thing. We have the Humboldt Seed Company is our Instagram, and then we have HumboldtSeedCompany.com. And people will find that, folks like us are a lot more accessible than someone might think. And we always like to hear from people out across the world that are, we can't guarantee we'll always answer, but, definitely, I know, like Jason, his person, he never intended to be this, like, sounding board or representative of a county, but like sometimes those are the best people for that job. And so this guy,
the ones who don't want the job,
is really,
it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. And people sometimes think that it's this like glamorous thing, but it's like, we're doing it because we love, and especially someone like Jason's doing it because he wants to keep his way of life and the way of life he's always known alive. And that's incredibly respectable. And a good person, a father, a community member all the way. And that's, I think, what it's about.
Dude, geez, Nat, you're hired. You're working for me now, it sounds like.
I'm buying the merch.
I appreciate that. I know you're trying to end this, but I do appreciate it. I do want to say, this is so much farther and so much bigger than me and Nat. This is really about our whole community and a whole culture that's getting pushed out. And so we need people. I mean, if anything, people need to just, when they go to a dispensary, look for that craft grown weed. And a lot of these bud tenders have no idea what they're doing, but to say we want some sun grown, we want to actually look into where we're getting our herb from, and who we're supporting, what we're putting in our body. It's the time right now where there's a culture getting pushed out. There's a dying culture right now of amazing people, amazing families, amazing farmers, and we really need people to give us the support. And with that, they're going to get the highest, best quality weed. So it's a win-win for them.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
And then, like I said, I appreciate you helping to educate these consumers. That's really what we need. And smoke that potty mouth, man. It is delicious. Be careful. It's pretty strong, though.
My last name is really Grow. Okay. I can't wait. I go in and I go hard. So I'm ready for that. I'm ready for it. And next time I'm in California, I'm going to look for it at the dispensary. So guys, again, thanks for coming on the show. We want to have you back on, and we want to support you in every way that we can. Calling All Growers is produced by Pro Cannabis Media and Grow House Media with generous support from our sponsors. Thank you guys, and we love you for your support. We'll see you in 2 weeks on Wednesday, October the 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with another legendary grower or growers. I don't even know who's up next, but I know it's somebody who's going to be totally mind-blowing. So you have to tune in. But until then, I'm Liz Grow, and I'm calling all growers. I'll see you next time.
Something, hey, I said that you like cannabis oil. Hi, I'm Betty Crocker Bakes. I'm in West Hollywood where I am showing people how to make dabs with the Source by Extract Craft. You look like you cook a good meal.
I do, I'm Greek. I infuse everything, the pasta, the infused butter. I also put it in the sauce. Before I know it, it was 3 days later.
What would be the first thing that you made with the oil from the Source?
Chocolate covered coffee bean.
And do you like to get your eyes low?
Yes.
How low?
So I can't see.
You just use this machine. It's like 5 easy steps and boom, your eyes is low.
Wait. It's like an at-home kit for extraction.
And you can infuse your food with it. And guess what? A party every day because we can infuse our breakfast. Do you like dabs?
It's in a gut.
Well, guess what? You can have an event in your house.
Can I put lavender in there?
Oh, yes. Let's jog over here to the Source.
What's that?
If you were using the oil, what would be the first thing that you would make? You guys know me. I love me some Mexican food. The first thing I would make would be some enchiladas, with a lot of extra oil. This is the Source by Extract Craft. You can make oil and you can make your own dabs right at home. How you feel about that?
I have a rosin press.
You like to squash your nuts? Well, guess what? You can still use this too. You squish them there. You can come here and you can get it popping too. I like a good dab. I don't got time to get in the car, go and get it, come back. So voila, you have the Source where you can really make your dabs at home. Easy to clean and easy to work.
How long does it take?
2 hours. So while you dropping it like it's hot to Megan Thee Stallion, it does its thing, and voila, eyes low in 2 hours. So would you ever make your own oil at home?
Yes, I would. I would love to.
As a broker, we have access to many cannabis carriers. So I will go in with 2 or 3 quotes for people. The quotes might be $20,000 for one, $22,000 for another, $17,500 for another. Pretty close among the 3. What I tell people is it's not the pricing, it's what's included and not included, meaning exclusions. An exclusion in layman's terms is just something that's not included. It's not on the menu. So it's just not included. But if you don't know that, if no one shows you that on page 71 of a 150-page policy, you're not going to know. No one knows. I never met one person that says they read an insurance policy. If you do, I got some property in Florida for you.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
We've got breaking news for all farmers and growers out there. How would you like to defer the taxes you pay on your grow? Now you can legally, thanks to a discovery by agricultural tax attorney Michael Berwick of the law firm Greenspoon Martyr.
I have been working with tax deferral for 20 years, and my team at Greenspoon Martyr in the tax area got together with our team in the cannabis area. And putting our heads together collectively, we have determined that this major tax deferral clause includes the growing of cannabis.
Now, don't think that this is a new tax code clause because it's been around for over a century.
Absolutely. This provision's been around for over 100 years. It was designed for agriculture. It was put in force at a time when we had a much more agrarian economy, big lobby for agriculture and farming, and that definition of agriculture has grown and expanded over the years. And again, it now includes cannabis.
How does it work?
Essentially, it will allow the taxpayer, if done correctly through us, it will allow the taxpayer to defer all state and federal ordinary income taxes for 30 years.
To find out more and see if you qualify as a grower, contact Michael Berwick at 305-789-2761 or call toll-free 888-491-1120 and ask for Michael Berwick's office, or just email him at michael.berwick, that's BURWICK, @gmlaw.com.